Does anyone else remember the time when Bill Pullman was considered a very attractive leading man?
Again, you asked me this last night, and I said no. And this tonight, I still feel like no is the right answer.
Hey, ask me.
They even talk about how pretty his face is in this movie.
Ask
John.
me. Yeah.
John, how do you feel about it?
Well, no. Ask me if I remember a time?
Do you remember?
No.
Come on. He was... What was his name?
Bill Pullman?
No, in Spaceballs.
Oh, yeah.
Is this just going to be our horrible intro of do you remember this thing that he was in? Are you seriously just looking up who he played in Spaceballs now?
Yeah, because I want to remember.
I honestly don't remember.
Oh, I should know. Like, why? Like, right now, my brain is just shouting
it's
Star-Lord
Lone
at
Star.
me.
Lone Star. Oh my god.
Wow. Okay. Well, we fail. That's great.
Yep.
Lone Star.
Hi and welcome Behind the Hype. Your host is always Brian Dressel. With me as always is Chewy Darso.
Hello.
And Jonathan Hardesty.
Hi.
So we had to take a bit of an impromptu break, and I'm not going to get into the details of why we had to take such an impromptu break, but it was necessary, and now it's done, and everyone is good, which is great.
Thanks for covering for me. I broke the podcast. Sorry.
Damn it, John! If you listen to Binge Buddies from I think next week, on this upcoming Monday, last week's Binge Buddies, I give a brief explanation.
Timey-wimey stuff going on here.
Man, I'm recording 3 podcasts today, so it's a lot. But yeah, so I gave a very brief explanation there that I could have in the amount of time I've been doing this, but I'm not going to. So yeah, if you want to hear where I went there, you won't find out there either. But I'll be a little bit nicer than I am being here, where I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's get going. And speaking
the content we crave.
Yeah. Speaking with that same sort of veracity, John and I and Chewy were kind of chatting like, all right, so now that we're done with that thing, let's get back to recording. Should we get back to Donner? It doesn't really feel right anymore. Like, we've moved so far past it. It's been like a month. I think we should just start the next month, and that's what we're gonna do. So kind of sad to let Richard Donner month go. I was having fun with it. I think he's a great director, and he's very sorely missed. I was so out of sync with that series. It just kind of felt best to move on. And I think both John and Chewy agreed. So here we are.
Hello.
The horror movie month, which we always like to do here, but this time,
B-sides.
yeah, behind the hype. So we're doing B-sides.
B-sides.
If that doesn't make any sense to you, of course, why would it? Allow me to explain. We decided to take a look at famous horror movie directors: Wes Craven, Guillermo del Toro. I think we're going to throw in a George A. Romero one. And all these people are known for very famous big movies, but that's not all they made. They made a lot of stuff that either wasn't very good, or maybe if you don't see it, it was pretty good. The B-sides, not the hits. And we're going to spend October-ish, since we're recording this in September, talking about those, the ones that didn't quite connect. And we're starting things off well, maybe I should clarify. If you are a horror movie aficionado, if you love horror films, if you subscribe to Shudder, when I'm talking B-sides, you're going to know all of these. I'm not here to try to pull something crazy out of the woodworks of horror movies you've never heard of. I'm just kind of going for the more off the well-worn path. Those sorts of horror movies.
Yeah, they're never going to be the first thing that's mentioned in any conversation about these filmmakers, but they might be the second or third.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm not trying to pick something uber obscure, but still not something that, like, your first thing. When you think of Wes Craven, you might go Scream. You might go Nightmare on Elm Street. You're probably not going to go Wes Craven. Oh yeah, Serpent and the Rainbow. You might have seen it. You might have heard of it, but that's not going to be your Wes Craven movie. And that's kind of how we ended up here today with Serpent and the Rainbow. Had either one of Chewy, I know, had not seen it. John, had you seen this one?
No, I've only seen the cover before at like rental, like video stores and things like that, and be like, oh, cool, and then moved on.
Yep, it's kind of a freaky cover.
Yeah,
like little uncomfortable, and they didn't really use like fucking any other cover. When you look up any art from this movie, it's always the Bill Pullman with the white face reaching out of the casket. Don't bury me. I'm not dead.
I'm not dead yet.
I hate that. That's
I feel happy.
both times I saw this movie. That's what went through my head during that supposed to be climactic, very scary scene, and all I hear is, "I'm not dead yet. I feel happy." Totally ruins it.
I could go for a dance.
But sure, since I'd seen this, I'd already kind of my opinion on it, which was I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. Thought it was a good watch. I might feel a little differently now. But my first watch, that's where I was. Where are you guys on it now? You were kind of annoyed throughout the majority of it.
Because I'm used to loving his movies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is Wes Craven, who I've generally always defended as being a very good director. I'm like, this movie makes no sense.
No.
It's paced terribly. The editing is terrible. Things happen and then they go and you're like, what was that for?
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of, what the fuck?
I'm like, well, that was just there to look at her boobs and no other reason.
Well, yeah, that's that sex scene.
That goes on too long.
Yeah, you know a sex scene's having a problem when I can look at my wife and go, so this is still happening. John, what do you think?
This movie kind of tried my patience throughout, and I think it ended up boiling down to like the pacing. I could never get into a rhythm with this thing, and the whole time I'm like, what's this now? Like, he's back here again? Like, how many times is he gonna go back and forth between Haiti and the U.S.? Like, Jesus.
Only once.
He
He's in a different country at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, I think it's twice.
Oh, twice, yeah.
Because I think the first country, he's not in Haiti in the beginning of the movie.
And then he leaves and then he comes back.
Yeah, and then he leaves and comes back. So he only does it. But either way, I see what you mean. Like, it's
the travel is weird in this, and like you said, the pacing, and just, I don't know. Every part of this kind of prevented me from enjoying it too much, which, to be generic about it, I guess.
Yeah. See, for me, I'm kind of allow myself at least a little on the first watch, I should say, because the second watch, I'm more in both of your camp than I was the first time. But on the first time, I knew nothing about this. I didn't even see the cover art. Like, when I said we're going to do a Wes Craven battle, and I think I picked Scream. I was all excited to talk all these Wes Craven movies. And then when this one was brought to the table, I'm like, what the fuck is that? So, like, I had no idea what to compare it to or what to be excited or not excited for. So I kind of got swept up into the whole thing. And, like, my number one fear of death, like, absolute number one fear of death, is being buried alive. Like, the concept of it freaks me out so bad. Like, I got so freaked out in the theater watching Kill Bill, is it 2 where she gets buried alive?
Yeah, 2, buried alive.
I had to leave the theater. Like, I couldn't sit there and watch it. Like, it was too much. So maybe that mixed with, like, I didn't know what I was expecting kind of kept me through my first viewing. Because when they finally do bury him alive, that scene is brutal.
Well, the special effects in this movie are very good.
Yeah, they work. Like, the horror elements of this movie, like the Wes Craven of it all, I think all works. I think, like, the practical effects work. Like, the nightmare stuff all is just wonderful. Like, I love. Maybe we should do a breakdown. Like, I'm starting to start picking out scenes and like, oh, that's not gonna make any.
We're diving
sense.
right in. We're jumping right in.
Let's. Here, I can do a very, very brief breakdown. So the Serpent and the Rainbow is about a gentleman who is a pharmaceutical, I'll go with aide or researcher. He basically goes to non-developed countries that are using, like, some sort of medicine to fix something, and they usually consider it magic or voodoo or whatever it is. And he comes in and is like, nope, this is science, and we can use this to cure whatever it is. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to give you some whatever you consider money, and I'm going to go on my merry way. And I just made a shitload of money, and my pharmaceuticals are doing great. And he learns about a drug that will turn you, or at least what he is assuming is a drug, that turns dead people to alive people, a.k.a. zombies. But they're not zombies. They like to throw the word zombie around a lot in this movie, even though there isn't a single zombie in it, which is fine. So he goes to Haiti to find this drug that he thinks is a drug. Turns out it is a drug that basically paralyzes you and shuts down as much of your body as it possibly can without killing you and making sure you are still fully aware and awake of what's happening around you. But to any other person looking at you, that's a dead guy. And then after about 12 hours, it wears off. I'm not sure what this drug could be used for. It would not work as an anesthesia. It'd really fuck you up.
I mean,
but-
not the one in the movie, but the actual thing.
Yeah, it'd be really, really fucked up. But anyhow, so he finds that drug, and while in Haiti, he pisses off a whole bunch of people because, he's showing up, I guess. And he's
More so one guy.
Yeah, he's there, and I guess that's a hell-worthy trespass. Right?
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
figured out why the not president of Haiti really fucking hated him, but he really hated him for some reason. But that guy practices voodoo, and he can get into his mind and give him nightmares in the middle of the day or in the night. And he just starts really fucking with him, and then he tells him to get the fuck out of Haiti, so he does. And then he's like, oh, wait, no, I forgot that chick that I banged that one time. I should go back for her.
Well, and the guy torments him.
Oh, yeah,
in
he
the
also-
States for reasons.
Yeah, he's like, get the hell out of Haiti. So he does. And he's like, I'm going to torture you. Wait, what? But I got out. So I'm going to go back.
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
thought
go
I did
back.
what you wanted. Like,
Yeah.
Aren't we square? Are we simpatico here? What's this?
You can see why we might have a problem with this one. So he goes back. He gets buried alive. He gets unburied alive by one of the guys who had also gotten buried alive at some point, who then is just cool living in a graveyard for some reason. And then I guess that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then they have like a battle of wills at the end, and just like involves a scrotum stabbing, and then he saves.
I
the
forgot.
day, and-
I pushed the scrotum stabbing. I
thought it
fucking
was
love.
penis, but...
I mean, I guess it could be either or. They don't really show or describe. They just show a nail going through his crotchal region.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't have a problem with the guy who put the nail in the crotch, or the nail, or the hammer, or really anything. But he took it very personally that chair was involved.
Yeah. right.
that chair can go to hell. That chair can go to hell and die.
And
It's one of the more curious. Are you mad at the guy who put the nail through your penis? No, but fuck that chair.
yeah.
I really hate that chair.
And then through all of this, you have the female character who just kind of gets tossed around.
Well, she's there to either be thrown at a wall or to be had sex with.
Yeah, she
Right.
really does nothing else.
No.
She doesn't
And
even help him find anything. He does it all on his own, really.
Yeah, I was
pretty much.
surprised at her
Does she
name.
introduce him to Mozart, the guy who makes the thing for him?
No, the police chief from Terminator 1 does that.
Oh, so yeah, she does nothing.
Yeah, she's there to be thrown into walls and to be had sex with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awkwardly
I'm
long
surprised.
sex
I'm surprised her name in the cast list isn't like female character. For how generic.
Girl.
Yeah, girl.
To get into some details of this movie, whenever they want to quote unquote turn you into a zombie, this one guy comes up to you randomly and blows powder in your face.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like being subpoenaed for court or whatnot. Getting served. He just comes up, serves you, and leaves.
I don't know who served you papers, but they did it wrong. Just blow a stack of papers in your face.
But, and that's another thing that doesn't really make any sense with the female character. Because at one point they're at this like party, which is like voodoo sideshow sort of things of people like eating glass and putting needles through their faces. It seems like something they're doing for tourists.
It is something they're doing for tourists. They don't blow her with the zombie dust. They blow her with zombie dust, the dust to be possessed, and they say she's very open to possession.
But why?
Oh, because they had the dust.
So they just decided to do this so she could wiggle her bits for a moment?
I mean,
The
she's
cleaning
there to
lady.
be had
She
sex
does
with.
on Monday.
Because all it does, they blow the stuff in her face as she's trying to leave the party.
Yeah, she's like, I'm done with this party. They're like,
And then she comes back and does a sultry dance, and then another guy gets mad at the bad guy for clinking some glass, and then he starts trying to attack her, and the Bill Pullman gets to save her, I guess.
sometimes we do these episodes, and at the end of it, like, I didn't really like it. In the end, I'm like, I actually kind of like it now. And then every now and then, it's like, I kind of liked it. By the end, I'm like, this isn't very good anymore.
Yeah. Like,
This is definitely the latter.
I mean, that's why, like, the whole time you're telling me, like, I kind of like it, I'm like, there's no reason for any of this to happen.
Okay, well, here, then let me go with this. I like it because I love the horror elements. So, like, the horror elements in this movie work so well for me that the rest of it that just blatantly does not work, I can kind of forget about. Like, I love the way Wes Craven does nightmares, because he does nightmares in a way that legitimately feel like nightmares.
Yeah.
Like, as somebody
yeah.
who is very prone to nightmares, like, Wes Craven is better than anyone at putting that on screen.
It's almost as if he,
Well, yeah, there's
Nightmare
the
on Elm Street.
Or just based his movies off nightmares, which is also true. Like,
there's the lady in the wedding dress, the skeletal woman, and she reaches out and she's like, and then she reaches out and the snake jumps out of her mouth and she pulls her jaw open, and like all those elements, I'm just like, well, this is where. Okay, I get that for this movie. I get why you wanted to do this with all that imagery you're doing. And then when Bill Pullman is running through the cells, the jail cells, and all the hands reach out, but like in the same way that you would get from Nightmare on Elm Street, just like way out there to grab him.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's where I saw the kind of the potential here. That was very evocative and very scary and very unnerving.
Or for me, like the first time he has that nightmare where he ends up getting buried alive, where like you don't really know it's a nightmare first, and then like you realize as it's going, like, oh shit, he's in a coffin, and like the coffin starts closing in around him, and then the casket part comes down on top of the coffin, and then you see the bad guy through it who's like, hello, Bill Pullman, and it's like that's clearly not the line, but it's such an effective moment, and like it takes you from feeling totally fine to claustrophobic and fucked in all of like 10 seconds, and it's super effective. And then you throw that on top of the next time he talks to the guy, he's like, did you sleep well last night? I know you didn't, because I was in your dreams and I caused all of that. It's like, oh man, there are things in this movie that really work.
And they should have done that more and had more explanation for all the other things.
Sure, yeah.
Because most of the time with the bad guy, I was just like, okay, so we're doing this stuff, and he's told to not trust that man. And then suddenly at one point he goes back to his hotel room and there's a hanging dead pig and a bunch of stuff
God, I forgot
written
about
on
that.
his walls. And you're there for like split second, and he runs, and suddenly Bill Pullman's doing parkour getting out of his hotel room.
Yeah.
And
Parkour!
And then we're done with that.
Yeah. We never go back to that.
He never goes back. And that just leads into the excuse for him to follow these people worshiping the Virgin Mary into the woods and then have sex with the lead female character.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
Well, when
although
you put
to
it
be
like
fair,
that, all my praise is fucking worthless.
No, well, to be fair, if I saw that, I'd be, I'd piece out of that scene and just never go back to it.
no,
Like,
but there's no like.
but there's no
through
explanation.
line.
Yeah,
There's no
or
explanation. So why is this? I never got the exact reason why he's intimidating Bill Pullman so much. And if the end goal is for him to get Bill Pullman to leave the country, why are you doing all this other crap when you're eventually just going to throw him on a plane anyways?
And then once he leaves the country, why are you not letting it go? Like,
Why are you torturing him in the States?
And it's one of those things where like there's a bit of suspension of disbelief that comes into any horror movie. Like you just kind of need it. Like you just you need it. And when movies start fucking up left and right, and fucking up is a very, very rude way to put it, but I'm going to stick to it. It starts kind of bumping up against that suspension of disbelief. Like when we're sitting here asking these questions of why is your villain doing this, that, and the other, then you've dropped the ball somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because like that means that we're sitting here thinking about other things. Like if this was a truly effective horror movie and I was into it with all the nightmare stuff I was talking about earlier, when that stuff ends, I wouldn't care that the rest of it didn't make sense because the rest of it works so well. Instead, I just say that stuff saves it for me disliking the movie. I guess that's better than nothing.
I always need, if you're going to give me this evil person, you don't need to tell me why they're evil, but you need to give me some idea of why they're doing the evil things they're doing. Because just telling me they're doing evil things for evil's sake, that only works when they're like a serial killer or just a psychopath.
Or like a demon. Like something just completely like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Like something that its essence is just evil. You're giving me this person who's a politician, but also a voodoo priest.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a guy who's kind of a thinker probably and wants to retain power. Why is he just doing all this random crap? Like that doesn't work for me with how you establish what his character is supposed to be. It's the same thing like when we watched Conjuring 3. I'm like, why is this woman doing this to any of these people? Like you never gave me a freaking reason, so it makes no sense to me.
And then we see the scope of his evilness only at the very end, when with all those jars of souls and things. It's like, well, that's too late to get us this information.
Does he collect souls?
Yeah, it's not that
gives him power. So why does he need Bill Pullman's soul?
I wouldn't even go so far as to say it was too late. It's that it's not enough. like, this is a fine time for a reveal, but it's just, I have jars of souls. Why? Are you collecting them? Like, if you get, like, you have 35 souls. If you get to 40, do you get, like, a free 41st soul? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
And why does Bill Pullman's matter?
Yeah.
And it never established, is he trying to become more of a political entity? Because eventually they show the political unrest in the country where their president is fleeing, or the prime minister is fleeing the country, and the guy looks nervous that the peasants are uprising or whatnot. And if he's supposed to be this powerful guy, I'm like, did he not want this? Did he not want this unrest to somehow take advantage of it? Did he want these other people to stay in power? Like, I don't know.
And like,
why are you even showing us that the prime minister is leaving if it has absolutely no importance to the storyline?
Well, right. And then the idea of like the whole zombie idea that they're going with voodoo is like bodies that aren't in control of themselves anymore. You control the bodies. Well, if there's unrest, that's like lots of bodies. And aren't you control like, so then you start asking questions about like, well, what's the purpose of this practice? If it's just like a collector, what's the point of the unrest? Like, why show us so much of it? Unless it's just setting flavoring, but that just feels so dismissive of what's going on there during the time of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, it leads to so many other questions, and then you're realizing the movie's over, and you're like, oh, I didn't actually watch the rest of the movie because I'm so wrapped up in like, well, why? What the hell is this for?
I actively start getting annoyed in horror movies when I'm suddenly finding myself asking too many questions.
Yeah, it's like a similar reaction that we had during *Malignant*, where it's just like, man, I'm really enjoying this, James Wan. Good job. Wait, why is this happening? Wait, what?
Well, the biggest problem I had with *Malignant* was when the police officer was chasing her through the lower areas. And then he got stuck in the lower areas, so we never got to see him, try to find his way out, which he should have been super lost. And then the next scene should have been like, hey, our detective went missing.
That would have made more sense. Yeah. I'm just still, I'm still salty that there's no, thanks to Venture Brothers at the end of it. But, that's me.
And also, I just decided I want to go to Seattle to see this lower area stuff. I've never heard of it before, the *Malignant*.
Was it real? Did you look it up?
I didn't even look at it if it's real.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, it's also frustrating too that like, because I like the idea that they're putting forth with the zombie thing, because movies have done it in the past. Like I Walked with a Zombie or White Zombie, where the idea is that with voodoo you lose control of your body, but you're aware of losing control. To what you were saying, Brian, earlier about being like scared of being buried alive, tied to that is also not being in control of your body anymore, losing your agency. And that's the whole like this version of what zombies are, is that's kind of what that's going for. And when I kind of realized that that's what it was going to be about, I kind of got excited because like, oh, this will be unnerving in that way. It'll fully it'll explore that more. And no, barely anything with the zombie stuff other than just being buried alive, which unnerving, but like there's a whole realm of horror that you could do with this zombie idea that never comes to fruition. And like, you kind of are waiting for that because that's what they hint at in the beginning of the movie.
Well, it kind of gives you this feeling that you're going to deal with maybe not, zombies, because it becomes pretty clear pretty quick. There's like, oh, this isn't a zombie movie. Like, it's clearly a voodoo movie, but whatever. I'm along for the ride. But it kind of gave me this idea in the beginning, like when they find the first guy that they are there to see, like, well, he died, he went into the ground, and now he's walking around a cemetery. Like, so what the fuck happened? What I was hoping they were going for, at least in my first viewing, was like, oh, so he remembers being dead, and his life is now worthless because, oh God. Like, and like, that's what I thought they were going for. Like, oh, that's kind of a really cool idea.
Yeah,
like these
Buffy already did it better.
I mean, a lot of people have done it before.
She did it because it happened way after this movie.
Yeah, I mean, but this movie came out in '88. It was pre-Buffy.
That's why.
But other people have done that sort of storyline too. But I like that storyline. Like, that's kind of an interesting thing to do. And I feel like maybe that's my biggest problem with this movie, is that it's chock full of things where I'm like, oh, I like that. That's really. Oh, you're not doing that. Oh, I like that. That's really cool. Oh, you're not doing that one either. What are you doing? We got Bill Pullman in a box.
I like the scene where before he stabs his penis, about how they talk about how pretty Bill Pullman's face is.
You're really on this Bill Pullman being a very handsome.
He was an attractive man when he was younger, and then he got to be our president, and then.
Yeah, you know what? He was also the dad in Casper, and after that, he's just not attractive anymore.
Once you go dad, you're not so glad, I guess.
guy was horrible.
He dies. And then she's just alone with the ghosts.
No, he comes back to life.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh,
They put him in the unghost machine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you not remember Casper the
No,
Rapey
I don't
Ghost?
remember that part.
God, when we rewatched, that's a long time ago. Like, that's after the hype. Like, OG, like, we were on the floor recording on a microphone episode, like, that long ago. But man, that rewatch was rough.
Talk about a franchise they don't even bother to try to bring back anymore.
Why would they? All right, what have we missed in Serpent and the Rainbow? Clearly, I think I'm walking away as the biggest fan of it, even though I'm still kind of like, it was fine.
I mean, I'll like the horror aspects of it. If I could only watch like the last 20 minutes of the movie, like to me that would be the best movie. Everything leading up to it, I was frustrated. The pacing is terrible. So when you have bad pacing, you have storyline pieces that don't pay off or don't go anywhere or don't make any sense, and you have characters with no real motivation. I'm like, you're not going to keep me.
Yeah. And you have to string the story together with voiceover too, like.
Oh yeah, random, inconsistent voiceover.
That also doesn't really track that. Like, sometimes it feels disjointed. Like, is this what we're seeing? Yeah. You know, one thing we did totally forget to mention is, Alfred is in this movie, so that does give it a little bit of a bump as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is just his little. He looks like he's just having a little fun in between serving Batman.
Yeah, Batman's out doing something, so we got to have fun for a minute.
Hey,
John, was there anything that we missed that you wanted to talk about beyond Alfred not being in this? Or not being mentioned?
No, I mean, we could probably harp on the pacing over and over again and take another hour if we wanted to just complain about it. Because, it felt longer, the movie, than it was.
Than an hour 38? It certainly does.
And it's just, they asking the questions and also, like, skipping things that are there that are interesting, but then moving on, and then long stretches of kind of not much going on, and then the scary thing. I don't know. It feels like start stopping a lot. Like, oh, okay, here we go. Oh, okay, pause. Hurrying up to wait sort of deal. And just that back and that pumping the brakes in a car over and over again. You're just kind of bouncing back and forth. That's not fun. And that's kind of what this movie was. Just hitting the accelerator a little bit in the car and then pumping the brakes just over and over again until everyone in the car hates you.
Oh, my son just yelled at me the other day about that. Like, cryingly yelled at me. Like, he was tired, and he was tired of doing that. No more back and forth!
That's this movie. That's really this movie. It's as soon as something interesting happens, we have to adjust the pacing and stop. We have to, like, so many stops in this movie that it just becomes a frustration to watch. And by the end, it's like I had to kind of explore why I felt kind of annoyed after watching it. The credits roll. I'm like, this is frustrating. I wonder what's going on. Oh, yeah, the pacing.
Yeah. Oh, well. Off to a good start for horror director B movie list. Or B-sides. Why do I make titles so hard to say? Why do I do this to myself?
This is Bubba B-sides.
Bubba B-sides.
Bubba B-sides.
All right, let's do this. Let's move into quotes and or moments. I'll take whatever you got because there's not a lot of quotes in this one. Mine actually is a quote because I think it's the best thing in the entire movie because it's the only thing that actually makes me like. And it's actually from the box art too, so everyone knows it. But it is a line from the movie. It's a little different in the movie, but it's when he's been blown, if you will, and he's walking around like fuck. They're gonna think I'm dead. They're going to think I'm dead. I need to get somewhere where they won't find me and bury me because they're going to think I'm dead. This is a problem. And his body's just shutting down and he's running away. And he lands on the ground and he says, "Don't let them bury me. I'm not dead." And it's like, God, he sells that moment. Like, I've never been Bill Pullman's number one fan by any stretch. I like Bill Pullman.
Clearly like Bill Pullman more than you.
Most people do. But he sells the hell out of that moment. Like, I think that moment's really good. The line's good.
He does a lot of physical acting in this movie.
He actually he worked with a shitload of animals too that were all I had looked up in IMDb trivia. They had they're all the animals he interacted with, including the spider walking on his face. I would have pooped myself.
Yeah.
That
It didn't look real to me at all. Maybe
No,
there's
that looked
maybe
like
there's
a
the one.
prosthetic face.
Maybe the one that was in his chest. Either way, he had a real tarantula. He worked with the jaguar. All the animals in it he worked with, but they're all born in captivity and were rather docile. I want to know why they said rather docile.
Because they probably drugged them.
Oh yeah, that's probably something.
Kind of
to do.
like how they do it whenever you go to Asia and you're like, I got a picture with a tiger, and everyone else is like, you know that tiger was drugged, right? You know that's torture.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, the 80s.
No, they still do that today.
I'm talking about this movie. We don't need to keep being a huge bummer. My God.
Sorry.
See, the B stands for bummer
Anyone
and
listening
B-sides.
who goes someplace and thinks it's cute to do that, it's wrong.
I mean, it really is. There's a whole documentary about it that we can't talk about on this show. Quote and or movie? Or moment? My God, I can't talk
My
tonight.
favorite moment in this movie is when Bill Pullman shows us his Patronus. In case anyone forgot about that moment. In the end of this movie when he's fighting the bad guy and suddenly a big ghostly vision of a jaguar appears in front of him as if he's going to launch that jaguar out to attack the bad guy.
I can't believe you just made a Harry Potter joke. I'm the one who likes Harry Potter.
Bill Pullman has a Patronus.
You're not wrong.
And that just pops up out of nowhere and never is acknowledged or really...
Oh, they mentioned it earlier in the movie that he's a spirit animal and it's a jaguar.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
I thought he was just...
Yeah, don't you remember when he has like the whole scene where he's like rolling around in the ground?
Yeah, but I thought that was just, people being like, we gave him drugs.
No, that's him meeting his spirit animal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're frolicking, Lion King style. Can you feel the love tonight?
Whoa.
I didn't get that.
John watched a different cut of this movie. I saw the frolicking up until the end of the frolicking. John saw post-frolicking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite quote-ish, moment-ish thing?
Yeah, I've got it's more of a quote because despite all that we've complained about, the guy who plays the villain, Peytraud, his delivery of some of these lines were actually pretty good.
When he's about actor.
The line, you see it all, you'll feel it, the cold in the coffin, it's worse, much, much worse. I'm like, yeah, I believed that. Like, that was a line I was like, okay, we know the burial's coming, and just him saying it that way, it's like, yeah, no, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, I like that they did throw that one line earlier where it's like, oh yeah, we use this graveyard because they never bury him too deep in this graveyard. Wink. we never know. It's not hard to get out of these graves.
Right.
God, I don't think I like this movie anymore. God damn it.
Sorry.
Oh well. So with that in mind, what are we going to watch this movie with? Double features.
I mentioned it earlier, and I think it would be you watch this first and be like, oh, okay, and then watch the other one and be like, okay, I can see it. The I Walked with a Zombie, where it follows that where someone is, the character is overtaken and slowly becomes zombified in that through voodoo they are controlled and no longer in control of themselves. And that's like a long process, and it's drawn out. It's a movie from the 40s, 1943, and I saw it a while ago, but I really enjoyed it, and the idea that presents is kind of what I was thinking Serpent and the Rainbow would go for. That sort of, it's a movie about losing control of yourself, and it's worth watching in terms of together. First, Serpent and the Rainbow to kind of be like, oh, okay, and then I Walked with a Zombie.
Cool.
Spaceballs. It's just a better movie with Bill Pullman, and his character, starts out not really wanting to be the hero, and then he ends up being a hero. And the girl in it does more.
She does a lot more. Here's, because we're here and it organically came up. You mentioned Spaceballs. I'm going to get my high horse for 1 second. 1 second. Spaceballs is an amazing movie that doesn't know when the fuck to end. It goes on way too long.
I think that's part of the joke of Spaceballs.
There is no reason we need to have the xenomorph, hello my baby, hello my darling. That does not need to be in that movie. By the time you get to that thing, you're like, why the fuck am I still watching this thing? Every time I sit down to Spaceballs, I'm like, this was a good idea. And the xenomorph starts dancing. I'm like, why am I still here? How is this still happening?
It's getting a dessert at a restaurant. It's like, why am I still here at this point?
It's funny. It's just funny.
It's a dessert you didn't ask for, and it's full of nuts. Like, I don't want it.
I mean, that was at the height of Mel Brooks's, popularity. Like, he could do no wrong, so
he could, and he did, and
No,
it's
he
all in
didn't.
Spaceballs.
No, it's not.
I love Spaceballs. I love the movie, but my God, it needs to stop.
Let's go watch Spaceballs.
No!
It's still happening right now. It's still ending right now.
When I first watched it as a kid, that cut on VHS is still happening somewhere in a hotel because the movie just doesn't fucking end. I feel much better. I don't have to complain about Spaceballs very
I haven't
often.
watched Spaceballs in a long time, though, so I legitimately am
You've
fine
never
with
finished it. It's a movie that doesn't end.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do my double feature with a movie that has an ending. It doesn't include a singing, dancing xenomorph. I don't know why that annoys me so much, but it really annoys me.
I am fascinated by your annoyance.
I'm gonna go for another movie that was Wes Craven kind of taking a step out of his comfort zone, if you will. It's still horror-ish because that's a lot of what he did. But it was just a straight up thriller, which he didn't do a lot of. And after I watched this one, I'm like, he should have done this more. Like, he fucking nailed this movie, and no one saw it. It was between The Serpent and the Rainbow and then this one, Red Eye, that I was deciding for this week. Red Eye, I thought was just a great movie with Cillian Murphy and Rachel Rachel McAdams. It's very trim to the point. It's just like, yep, scary movie on a plane, thriller. You pretty much know the whole thing before you sit down, but it's just solid from beginning to end. Good camera work, good directing, good acting. So if you just kind of see like Wes Craven going, oh, maybe I don't need to do a slasher this week. Maybe I'll go do something else. It's either Serpent on the Rainbow or now far more in my favor, Red Eye.
Yeah, I saw that
And
recently, actually, a few months ago.
No one likes thrillers anymore, and that movie came out when everyone started to decide they didn't like thrillers anymore.
I know, it's bad timing. But John, you saw it. You liked it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a lot, actually. I only saw like the trailer once. I was like, oh, okay, Wes Craven thriller? What? Again, what you said, Chewy, just like thrillers were kind of out for me then. So I was like, I'll catch it later. And then the other day, months ago, I was like, I'll try this on a whim. And yeah, a nice taut thriller, just exciting the whole way through. Loved the leads, and it was just really fun.
Yeah. It wasn't built to win awards or like win hearts or be anyone's favorite movie, but it's just a solid movie. This is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So I would probably watch Serpent and the Rainbow first. Because,
yes.
As you might have noticed, we have a lot of complaints. You'll have far less complaints for Red Eye. I hope. So that brings an end to the first week of the horror movie directors B-sides. As much as we might have shit on this movie, I still really enjoyed watching it. Like, it was still nice to go back to it. Now know that I don't need to anymore. Next week, we're doing something a little bit different. Still horror-ish director. Most of his movies at least are horror in theme or story, even if they aren't scary movies. They're still like gothic horror. We're doing Guillermo del Toro's Mimic.
Yeah.
Straight up
Mimic.
fucking gross monster movie. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm excited
to
for
see
it. I've never actually seen it. As one of those movies where I wanted to see it like when it came out, but I was still kind of a scaredy pants, and I'm like, maybe I won't. Maybe big gross bugs isn't for me right now. But now in my 30s, it is definitely for me, and I'm very excited to watch it. Kind of annoyed I never got around to it, to be honest, since I love Guillermo del Toro so much.
Yeah, kind of in the same boat. Kind of like, well, how? Like, as I'm looking at the listing, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's pick this, and suggesting it. It's like, how have I not seen this one yet? And then like being angry at myself for a while for not.
And then we still have 2 more weeks of the horror month, and I'm not entirely sure what they're both going to be. I'm kind of thinking maybe doing like an Argento movie, but like obviously not Suspiria. And I really want to do a George A. Romero movie. I have a few for him that I want to do, and I'm like, I'm not sure which one would be the best one. I'm leaning towards The Amusement Park.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sold yet. We'll kind of see. It's either that or Martin. Both of them are available pretty easily. I think Amusement Park is on Prime.
Which one's Martin?
Martin is a vampire film on YouTube. And it's totally there legally. So we can still watch it in the meantime.
Yeah. The tough thing with Argento will be just availability. Because his stuff is great, but always hard to find if it's not Suspiria.
Exactly. So it's like, maybe not Argento, but we'll see. I mean, you think horror movie directors, and it's like his name is usually at the top of most lists, if not number one. right up there with Wes Craven and John Carpenter and everybody. And maybe if we can't find enough Argento, we'll do a Carpenter movie. Maybe we'll finally do Ghost of Mars. I've made jokes about it on this podcast for years, and we've never covered it. I would definitely consider that a B-side.
Hey, you know what? That's
no
actually,
one saw it.
Bring it full circle, you know?
Oh, fuck. Did we just decide on our fourth movie?
Which one was it?
We'll figure out the Romero one later, but we'll do Carpenter. Sorry, Argento. We'll do a month on you at some point. But for now, we're going to do John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars.
I've never seen it. So.
I have. Woof. It'll be fun. You know what? It'll kind of fill the void that Timeline left us, because we never got around to Donner's Timeline. Now we'll get Carpenter's Ghost of Mars.
Now we just have to do our Paul Walker month someday, and then just do Timeline all 4 weeks.
I mean, I was excited for it until you said that. Like, ooh, Paul Walker month. That'll be fun. Oh, no, never mind. I'm busy that month. All right, let's do a quick round of plugs, and then we'll say goodbye. We just started up Binge Buddies this morning. We recorded our next 2 episodes, which were the season 1 finale and the season 1 wrap-up. We had a ton of fun recording both of these. Season 1 of What We Do in the Shadows is just absolute brilliant television, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you haven't watched it. And all of us over at Who, What, When, Where, and Why We Do in the Shadows are incredibly excited to start season 2, because it just stays awesome. So there's a lot of great stuff. And then a big congratulations to Mr. Brock Holiday over at Damage Boost for hitting episode 100. He's been doing great work this whole time, and very excited to hear what else he's got to do.
And his most recent episode, well, not most recent, but there was the one where he talked to Chari5 about game development, because the guy's making a video game.
Oh, very
and they go
cool.
into video game development, and I was like, oh, this is really fascinating. So it's some good stuff to listen to. You guys should check it out.
Yeah, Brock has been crushing it, as always, over at Damage Boost. So always recommend that. John, what's going on with the Demon Days?
We're just getting some scheduling stuff figured out to record a bunch again and kind of get back into a more weekly routine. I'm going to try to get back to weekly. It's just with all sorts of work-related things with everybody and scheduling. And, you know, when you work in the industry, scheduling is a big deal. And then when you want to play tabletop as adults, it's a big deal. So we're still figuring that out. So we're taking a little bit of a break to make a backlog, and then I'm going to move back to weekly, hopefully.
Well, you know, there's always a potential strike to free up all of our time.
Oh, yeah.
It probably won't affect John.
Well, not this Johnny it would affect.
Johnny it would affect.
Yeah. It would definitely affect the rest of the cast of Demon Days, for sure.
Yeah, Johnny and Drew will have a whole bunch of time on their hands.
Oh, yeah. So it'll be the Feder and Yusuf show.
Yeah. Chew, anything to plug?
No.
Perfect.
Sorry.
No, all good.
I'm rewatching Medium.
That's no. We're not plugging Patricia Arquette's Medium.
Why not?
They had their run. They're good. They finished. They're done.
Show.
I mean, I'm not arguing the quality of the show. I'm arguing its place here in our plug section. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to us. We had a lot of fun doing this movie, even if it wasn't very good. But next week will be a lot more fun with Mimic. Even if it's trash, it'll still be a big bug movie. So I'm into that.
Yeah.
So, bye.
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 See you later, bozos.